The Declaration of Cowardice. The Great Hall of Zy'kar Prime was a cathedral of arrogance. Its ceiling, carved from obsidian and lined with blue plasma veins, pulsed like a living heart. Thousands of alien delegates filled the chamber, representing every species in the Galactic Council. They had come to witness what the Zykar King called the Day of Judgment. At the center of it all, on a throne taller than most ships, sat King Vrakor, scales gleaming like molten emeralds. His golden armor reflected the light of hundreds of hovering drones that recorded his every word. He leaned forward, his deep voice echoing through the hall and across 1,000 worlds. Humanity, he declared, the weakest of all species. The cowards who hide behind technology, treaties, and their fragile blue planet. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Harsh, animalistic, mocking. The king raised a clawed hand and continued. We Zykarans have conquered worlds that burn hotter than your suns. We have broken empires older than your species. Yet when invited to stand among us in battle, you humans, he paused, sneering, you refused. You sent diplomats instead of warriors. You begged for peace instead of proving your worth. The laughter grew louder. Alien diplomats pounded their claws, tentacles, and metallic limbs on the floor in rhythm. Cowards! 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 The king bared his fangs in triumph. So be it. Let the records show. Humanity is a race of trembling cowards. Let none speak their name again in the Hall of Warriors. The declaration was transmitted instantly, across the galactic network to every world, every station, and yes, to Earth. Earth, United Defense Command, Geneva Arcology. A silent room. Dozens of military leaders, diplomats, and scientists stood before a holographic display showing the alien broadcast looping again and again. Humanity is a race of trembling cowards. The words echoed through the chamber like acid. No one spoke. No one moved. The insult wasn't just political. It was a challenge to the very idea of humanity. Finally, the Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces turned off the hologram. The light died, leaving only the reflection of a dozen grim faces in the glass wall behind her. She exhaled slowly. We've been called many things, she said. But cowards? No one answered. A pair of heavy boots broke the silence. From the shadows at the back of the room, a voice spoke, low, calm, and cold as space. Permission to respond. All eyes turned toward the speaker. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing matte black armor covered by a long cloak. His face was scarred, eyes like winter steel. No insignia, no rank. The other man beside him was his opposite, young, confident, grinning as though he'd just heard a great joke. His armor gleamed red, white, and blue, stars painted across one pauldron, a stylized flag draped over his shoulder like a cape. The commander looked at them both. You too. The cloaked man gave a short nod. The other just smiled. If someone's got to remind the galaxy who we are, he said, might as well be us. The room went still. No one said their names aloud. They didn't have to. The Baba Yaga, the American nightmare. Two of Earth's most dangerous legends. One whispered, one celebrated. The commander looked at them for a long time before giving a single nod. You have full discretion. Do not start a war. Just end the argument. The American saluted with a grin. Ma'am, we don't start wars. We just make sure no one ever wants to fight us again. The Baba Yaga said nothing. He only adjusted the hood of his cloak and walked out, the sound of his boots like the ticking of countdown. Launch of the Valkyrie's Requiem. Hours later, a single stealth warship lifted from the dark side of the moon. No fleet, no escorts, just one vessel. Its hull absorbed light itself, a whisper among the stars. Inside, the two men stood side by side before the viewing window. You think he actually believes we're cowards? The American asked, flexing his gauntlets as his armor systems hummed online. The Baba Yaga didn't look at him. Belief won't matter when he's dead. A smirk tugged at the corner of the American's mouth. You're a real ray of sunshine. Someone has to balance your noise, the older man replied, checking his sidearm. An antique ballistic pistol modified with plasma rounds. Every movement was calm, deliberate like a ritual. Silence fell as the stars elongated and blurred into the streaks of faster-than-light travel. Behind them, Earth shrank into a blue dot. Zy'kar Prime, Galactic Transmission Center. The Zykar Emperor's broadcast still replayed across the galaxy, now as propaganda. Alien citizens chanted the words like a song. Humans are cowards. Then one by one, the transmission arrays began to flicker. Screens turned black. Static filled the airwaves. And across 1,000 worlds, one new message began to appear. No voice, no translation, just a symbol. Two human silhouettes. One cloaked in shadow, one wrapped in the stars and stripes. A warning. On Zy'kar Prime, deep within his throne room, King Vrakor laughed as he watched the strange signal appear. 2 men, he growled. That is all the humans send. He leaned back, amused, claws tapping against the armrest. Then let them come. He didn't know it yet, but those words would be the last he ever spoke in peace. Because humanity hadn't sent soldiers. It had sent myths. The arrival of death and freedom. The void of space was silent, but the silence trembled when the Valkyrie's requiem dropped out of FTL. Before the dark hull, the planet Zy'kar Prime rotated like a green and silver jewel wrapped in orbiting fortresses. Dozens of warships patrolled the upper atmosphere, each the size of a city, armed to destroy fleets. The ship's AI murmured in the cockpit. Warning, hostile defense grid active. 97,000 targeting signatures detected. The American Nightmare leaned back in his seat, grinning under his helmet. That's all? I was hoping for a challenge. Beside him, the Baba Yaga stood motionless, gazing at the swirling planet below. We don't need a challenge, he said quietly. We need a message. He pressed the control rune. The Requiem's outer lights died, and the ship vanished from scanners, pure stealth technology born from Earth's black labs. For a heartbeat, the stars looked normal again. Then 2 streaks of light tore across the sky, drop pods, falling like meteors. The first impact. The first pod hit the ground with the force of a tactical nuke, right in the heart of Fortress Zeta, the largest Zykar military base on the planet. The explosion sent a shockwave for kilometers, toppling plasma towers and throwing alien soldiers off their feet. When the dust cleared, a massive figure stepped out of the crater, steam rising from his armor. Red, white, and blue lights pulsed from his chest plate. A flag rippled behind him in the burning wind. The American Nightmare was smiling. Howdy, boys, he said through external speakers, cracking his knuckles. Heard your king's got a big mouth. Hundreds of alien soldiers surrounded him, plasma rifles leveled. He rolled his shoulders and pulled a glowing energy shield from his back. Let's see if he trained you as well as he talks. The ground trembled. Blue plasma bolts rained toward him, a storm of fire and fury. He didn't dodge. He charged. Like a meteor in motion, he crashed through the ranks, shield flaring, armor glowing. Every impact sent aliens flying. He punched one in the chest, the force splintering armor, swung his shield like a blade, shattering 3 more. Explosions filled the air as he laughed. Not the laugh of a hero, but of a man who enjoyed the fight. You call us cowards, he roared, slamming the shield into the ground. We just don't start fights we're not going to finish. When the smoke cleared, Fortress Zeta was gone. Only the echoes of human laughter remained. The second shadow. Across the city, another drop pod had landed, silently, without light or sound, in the industrial sector. The pod's door hissed open, and the Baba Yaga stepped into the darkness. He moved like smoke. His cloak shimmered and shifted with adaptive camouflage. He walked through patrols unseen, each step perfectly timed with the hum of alien machinery. His visor glowed faintly, feeding him data, heat signatures, comms frequencies, structural weak points. He didn't need brute force. He had precision. He infiltrated the command tower, dispatching guards with quiet, efficient movements, a knife across a throat, a silenced plasma dart between armor plates. Each body fell silently, each kill measured. Inside the control hub, he connected a RIS console to the mainframe. Lines of alien code streamed past. He inserted a small data crystal marked with a single engraved word. Remember. Within seconds, the tower's systems began to fail. Alarms flickered, then died. Automated turrets turned on their own soldiers. Energy grids overloaded, detonating in cascading blue fire. On every Zykar comm network, a new message began broadcasting. Human audio, distorted but clear. You declared us cowards. We declare you unfit to exist. By dawn, 27 military outposts were gone. Every alien transmission repeated one phrase in English. 2 men. The fear spreads. On Zy'kar Prime's upper orbit, panic rippled through the fleet. Admiral Zarin shouted into comms, his mandibles twitching. 2 humans cannot do this. Find them. But no one could find them. They struck and vanished, over and over. One seen in burning light, the other only in rumor and shadow. Alien soldiers began whispering new words, the silent death and the laughing star. Entire garrisons surrendered without a fight, convinced they were next. The humans didn't need to conquer. They let fear do it for them. Meeting in the ruins. That night, in the smoking remains of a Zykar citadel, the 2 humans reunited. The American stood amid the rubble, wiping ash from his armor, still grinning. Well, that was fun. How's your half going? The Baba Yaga emerged from the shadows, blood on his gloves, but no visible emotion. Efficiently, the king's generals are gone. Command structure is collapsing. The American laughed. Guess that's what happens when you insult Earth. He sat on a chunk of broken steel, looking up at the alien sky filled with smoke and auroras from burning ships. Think they're scared yet? The Baba Yaga crouched beside him, scanning data on a holographic map. Fear isn't the goal. Understanding is. They need to learn why humanity doesn't fight wars. Because we finished them? The American said, smirking. The older man finally looked up, eyes like cold iron. Because when humans fight, nobody wins. A moment of silence. Only the crackle of distant flames. Then the American chuckled softly. You always got to be poetic, old man. No, the Baba Yaga said, standing. Just accurate. He turned toward the city's heart, where the alien palace glowed like a beacon. The king's next. The American rose, stretching his shoulders. His armor's servos hummed, the flag cape fluttering in the wind. Guess it's time we introduce ourselves properly. The 2 men walked side by side into the darkness, one cloaked in shadow, one blazing in light, and behind them, the ruins of a civilization whispered their names like a prayer. The Fall of Kings. The throne room of Zy'kar Prime stood like a monument to pride. Columns of black crystal stretched toward the ceiling, their surfaces carved with the victories of the Zykar race. The burning of worlds, the enslavement of species, the submission of empires. And in the center, upon a dais of silver bone, sat King Vrakor, his eyes fixed on the flickering holograms that filled the air before him. Each projection showed the same thing. Destruction. Cities reduced to rubble. Warships drifting dead in orbit. Entire legions erased in hours. All by 2 human signatures. The king's claws dug into the armrest, cracking it. Impossible, he hissed. No species could do this. An officer knelt before him, trembling. Majesty, the humans that are everywhere. Our scanners detect one energy pattern, then another vanishes. They. The officer's head hit the floor before he could finish, torn clean off by the king's blade. Find them, Vrakor roared. Bring me their heads, or I'll take yours. The echoes of his rage faded into the vaulted chamber, but the truth remained. His empire, the oldest and most feared in the galaxy, was dying by the hands of 2 men. Inside the palace walls, the storm had already arrived. The Baba Yaga moved through the lower corridors like a whisper. His black armor absorbed the glow of the palace's crimson lights. Every step was measured, every motion silent. He bypassed squads of patrolling guards, slipping behind them like a shadow, cutting throats before they even felt the blade. His visor fed him constant data, schematics, guard rotations, power grids. He wasn't just infiltrating the palace. He was dismantling it piece by piece. Reaching the security nexus, he placed a small device against the wall. A faint blue pulse spread outward like ripples in water. The palace's defense systems went dark. Alarms shut down. Lights flickered. He whispered softly into his comms. System blind. Your turn. The gate crashes. Above the palace gates, alien soldiers scrambled into position, aiming plasma cannons at the main entrance. Then the air boomed. A shockwave split the air as the American Nightmare dropped from orbit like a comet, smashing into the courtyard in a burst of light and fire. The impact crater glowed molten red. He rose slowly, smoke curling from his armor. The Zy'kar soldiers opened fire in a blinding torrent. Bolts of energy struck his shield, scattering harmlessly into sparks. He grinned. Oh, you boys really didn't learn the first time. He charged. Each step shook the ground. Plasma rounds ricocheted from his armor. He slammed into the first wave of troops, scattering them like leaves in a storm. His fist crushed a soldier's chest plate. His shield cut through another's rifle. He was a one-man apocalypse, loud, unstoppable, and laughing through all. For a bunch of warriors, you sure scream a lot. The courtyard burned, and above the chaos, the flag on his shoulder fluttered in the smoke like a banner of vengeance. The path of shadows. Inside, the Baba Yaga moved upward through the palace's inner levels, silent and relentless. He left no trail, only cooling bodies and disabled sentry drones. In the throne corridor, he paused before a massive door, the final barrier between him and the king. He glanced at his wrist display. His partner's vitals blinked green amid a storm of red enemy markers. The distraction was working. He drew 2 knives, 1 obsidian, 1 steel, and pressed the detonator. The door exploded inward. Guards surged forward, but none made it past the first few steps. The Baba Yaga was already among them, cutting and shooting in a blur of motion. He moved like a ghost, every strike precise, every kill permanent. In seconds, the corridor fell silent. He stepped over the bodies and entered the throne room. The king's last stand. Vrakor rose from his throne, towering, armored, holding a blade crackling with red plasma. You dare enter my hall alone, human? The Baba Yaga's voice was calm, quiet. Not alone. The sound came from behind the shattered gates. A thunderclap, then footsteps echoing down the hall. The American Nightmare strode in, armor-scarred, shield scorched, but grinning like a wolf. Hope I'm not late for the party. Vrakor's eyes burned with fury. 2 men, 2 insects. You think you can end an empire? The Baba Yaga tilted his head slightly. Empires end themselves. We just light the match. The king roared, swinging his blade. The air cracked with energy. The Baba Yaga dodged, moving low and fast, blades flashing. Sparks flew as metal met plasma. The king swung again, faster this time. The force sent shock waves through the hall. Then the American joined in, slamming into the king with his shield, sending the alien staggering back. Together, they fought like opposites made whole, shadow and fire, silence and thunder. The Baba Yaga struck with precision, cutting into joints and armor seams. The American drove forward with brute force, every blow shaking the walls. The king bellowed, wings unfurling, striking them both with a wave of energy that shattered marble. They hit the ground hard. Smoke filled the air. Vrakor stood over them, blade raised high. You will die nameless. Then a voice, calm and cold, cut through the smoke. Names already legend. A single gunshot echoed. The Baba Yaga's pistol, 1 round to the king's chest. The energy blade flickered. Then the American surged forward, driving his shield into the alien's throat, pinning him against his own throne. The king fell to his knees, gasping. His crown clattered to the floor. The Baba Yaga knelt beside him. You declared humans cowards, he whispered. Remember this mercy. He placed something small in the alien's hand. The same engraved crystal. Remember. Then he stood, turning away as the throne room erupted in flames. The exit. The palace burned behind them, a beacon of ruin visible from orbit. The two men walked through the wreckage, side by side, toward their ship waiting in the smoking courtyard. The American looked back once, watching the flames consume the alien symbol of power. Think that's enough? The Baba Yaga adjusted his hood. Enough for them to understand. The night sky lit with falling debris, the Empire dying in silence. And for the first time, the galaxy realized. Humanity hadn't sent soldiers. Humanity had sent judgment. The message to the galaxy. The capital of Zy'kar Prime burned for 3 days. From orbit, the planet looked like a dying ember. Cities reduced to ash, defense networks collapsing, once bright oceans glowing red with fire. Every communication beacon that had once broadcast the Zykar King's proud messages now transmitted only silence. The Galactic Council watched the destruction in horror. No one spoke the human's name aloud. No one dared. The broadcast. In the orbiting debris field of the Zykar Defense Fleet, a faint signal began to pulse. A steady rhythm, deliberate and human. Council technicians across the galaxy traced it to the wreckage above Zy'kar Prime. The signal was old-fashioned, coded in binary, something few alien races even remembered. They decoded it reluctantly. It wasn't a call for war. It was a recording. The image flickered to life on billions of screens. 2 human figures, standing in the ruins of the Zykar throne room. One cloaked in darkness. One wrapped in a flag of red, white, and blue. Smoke swirled behind them like a halo of ghosts. The American nightmare stepped forward, his armor scorched, his grin feral. "To all those who watched your king call us cowards," he said, voice carrying through every frequency in the known systems, "consider this our reply." He raised his shield. The reflection of the burning planet gleamed across it. Earth doesn't send armies when insulted. We send reminders. The Baba Yaga stepped in a frame beside him, his tone cold and precise. "We are not conquerors. We are not invaders. But if you mistake our restraint for fear." He lifted a hand, and behind him the Zykar palace collapsed in flames. "Then you have learned nothing about humanity." The feed ended. For a long time, the galaxy was silent. Then, one by one, alien news relays began transmitting the video under a single headline. 2 humans destroy an empire. The aftermath. Within days, the Zykar dominion fractured. Subjugated worlds, those that had endured centuries under Zykar rule, rose up in rebellion. The chains of the empire broke faster than anyone could believe. The phrase "send 2 humans" became a rallying cry. Even among alien species who had once mocked humanity, whispers spread through military academies and political chambers. Do not provoke Earth. Some called it fear. Others called it respect. It made no difference. The result was the same. Back on Earth. Weeks later, beneath a dawn sky streaked with red and gold, a black ship descended into the secure hangar of the Geneva Arcology. The massive doors sealed shut behind it. Inside the command chamber, the Supreme Commander waited, tired, proud, wary. The ship's hatch opened. 2 men walked out. The American nightmare removed his helmet first, his grin intact, but his eyes older. "You should have seen their faces," he said. They went from laughing to screaming real fast. The commander didn't smile. "You did what we sent you to do." The Baba Yaga stepped forward, face unreadable. "The Zykar King is dead. His empire broken. The message delivered." The commander nodded once. "Casualties?" The Baba Yaga glanced at his partner. "Them," he said simply. The American laughed softly. "Guess that counts as a victory." The commander looked between them both, voice lowering. "The galaxy's terrified of us now. Some are calling for alliances. Others want to hide behind their borders. You understand what this means." The Baba Yaga's answer was immediate. "It means peace." The commander raised an eyebrow. "Peace?" He looked her in the eye, steady. "No one makes war with what they fear." The legends that walked away. Later that evening, the 2 men stood on the balcony overlooking Earth's surface. The cities below glowed like stars, alive and safe. The American leaned against the railing, helmet tucked under his arm. "Think they'll ever forgive us for what we did?" The Baba Yaga didn't look at him. "Forgiveness isn't our job." "Yeah, The American said after a moment, a tired smile tugging at his mouth. Guess it never was. He glanced sideways. You ever wonder what they'll say about us? The older man's voice was low. They'll say two men went to war, and the galaxy finally shut up. A soft chuckle. That's enough for me. They stood in silence for a while, watching dawn break over the world they had fought for. Not out of pride, not for conquest, but for something far simpler, the right to be left alone. The message that endured. Months later, across distant worlds, the story of two humans spread like wildfire. No one agreed on the details. Some said one was a demon born of Earth's night. Others said the other was a god of war wrapped in steel and stars. But everyone agreed on one truth. You could threaten Earth's borders. You could insult their politics. You could underestimate their technology. But you did not insult humanity and live to boast about it. The Zykar ruins became a silent monument, untouched, unclaimed. A single plaque appeared near the fallen throne, engraved in alien and human script alike. Here fell the king who called humans cowards. Here began the era where no one dared again. The final scene. In a quiet mountain range far from the cities, a small cabin sat under a canopy of trees. Smoke curled lazily from its chimney. Inside, a man cleaned a worn pistol while another cooked coffee over an open flame. The American grinned, pouring 2 mugs. So what now? Retire? Open a barbecue joint? The Baba Yaga took the coffee without looking up. You talk too much. That's a yes, then, the American said, smirking. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere far above, satellites relayed 1,000 alien transmissions, all whispering the same name with reverence and dread. Humans. The camera pulled back, rising into the stars. 2 figures sat in peace on the planet no one dared to challenge again. And etched across the void, a message lingered like a warning carved into the fabric of time. Earth does not start wars. We end them.